Okay, so this here is the superficial gluteal. This is the middle gluteal. And then this is the piriformis, which is peering out at you. Piriformis, ours is slightly cut, yours might be longer. Underneath all of this here, you're gonna see the deep gluteal, which is underneath the other gluteal muscles. This is your deep gluteal. Putting all that down, we're gonna come up here. This is your tensor fascia lata muscle, which leads up here, and this should all be covered by your fascia lata. Pushing that back here, you're gonna have your two parts of your sartorius, which is gonna lay just like this. This is your cranial sartorius, and this is your caudal sartorius. Cranial sartorius, caudal sartorius. Pulling all that back, we're moving to our large biceps femoris here. This is your lateral part of your quadriceps, so it's going to be your vastus lateralis. So let's go ahead and flip it and continue with our quadriceps here. This is your rectus femoris of your quadriceps right here. This is your vastus medialis. You can see it's on the medial side of the femur here. And then it's hard to see, but deep underneath here is going to be the fourth head of the quadriceps. Right in here, it's going to be your vastus intermedius, right here. And now coming back to the lateral side. On this side here, we have your, we have the semitendinosus. Flipping this back is your semimembranosus, which actually has two parts on the medial side. You can see it over here. She could question you on that. These are the two parts of the semimembranosus here. These are both semimembranosus. And then staying on this side here, this is your gracilis, which lays flat over your semimembranosus. This is your gracilis. Flip that back and you're gonna see your adductor muscle here. This is your pectineus muscle. It's a little little triangle, which sits next to your femoral triangle, which is where you can check for the pulse of the dog, femoral triangle. And let's see here, make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so then coming back, we're gonna do the muscles of the crus. And to mention, this is the patellar ligament here, so we don't forget that one. Sitting on your tibia is gonna be your cranial tibial muscle. Next, you're gonna have your long digital extensor, because we're on the extensor side here. And then this right here, look for the tendons, that might be easier. This one right here is gonna be your fibularis longus muscle. And then the little muscle that's next to it is gonna be your lateral digital extensor, so you can visualize it better. There's the head right here, your tendon continuous of your lateral digital extensor. And then, let's go ahead, our fibularis brevis, is sitting right here. Here's the tendon to it, sitting right on the bone of the fibula. And then let's skip the deep digital flexor for now, and let's do, right here is going to be your gastrocnemius. It has two heads to it, but this whole muscle right here is going to be your gastrocnemius. And then underneath it is going to be the superficial digital flexor. It has like a little dorsal fin. That may be a way you can remember it. Superficial dorsal fin or digital flexor. That's all this right here. The tendon continues. And this entire tendon here is going to be your common calcanean tendon. And then your your deep digital flexor is going to be right here. Most of you may not have been able to separate the two heads. You have a medial head and a lateral head. This is your lateral side of the dog. So your tendon is going to be your lateral head of your deep digital flexor, and then your medial head is obviously going to be on the medial side. If we can see it here, there's the tendon here of your medial head of your deep digital flexor. Oh, and before I forgot about your popliteus muscle, which is sitting right on the bone. That is right here. That is your popliteus muscle. Don't forget about that one because it's easy to forget. Oh, and your popliteal lymph node is going to be right here. and that is large and you can feel it.
So for the arteries of this section, we are going to go over main channel first, and then we'll go over all the branching. So your main channel is your abdominal aorta, which you will not be able to see until we open her up, or your dog up. And then it becomes the external iliac, which you may or may not be able to see. We are not able to see it here. This is your femoral, which is next, and it runs all the way down, going deep. Do not follow this branch. Main channel goes deep and becomes the popliteal at the back of the knee. And then it becomes your cranial tibial, which is up here, which we'll see later. And after the cranial tibial, it becomes your dorsal pedal, which is right here. And then as it crosses in between these metatarsal bones, it is your proximal perforating branch 2 artery. And it's just that for this section. And as soon as it comes out between those metatarsals, it is now your deep plantar arch, which is over here, and we will see when we come over there. And then it becomes your plantar metatarsal arteries, and then your plantar proper digital arteries. Okay, sorry. So now starting back up here, we'll go over all the branches. So like I said before, you have your abdominal aorta, and so that's running where you can't see. It does have a branch that becomes your internal iliac, and so if we pull her around, your internal iliac has then branches of your cranial and caudal and cranial gluteal, which will be in your gluteal muscles. We don't have very good examples, but this is where you should find them. And then after the internal iliac branches off, it becomes your external iliac, which, like I said before, we cannot see. But a branch of your external iliac is your deep femoral artery, which is right here, which then has 2 branches. So your PE trunk is right here, and then your medial circumflex femoral artery is your second trunk, or second branch. So this is all deep femoral. Okay, so this is your deep femoral, which, like I said, branches from your external iliac, which we cannot see. But after the deep femoral branches off, your main channel becomes femoral. So this entire area is femoral. So your first branch here is going to be your superficial circumflex iliac, not femoral. Superficial circumflex iliac. Your next branch is the big one right under here, and it is your lateral circumflex femoral. It runs with your femoral nerve, which is right behind there, in case you can see it. After that, we continue down the femoral, and we have our proximal caudal femoral artery. Keep going down. Anything that goes cranial after your superficial circumflex iliac artery is going to be descending genicular arteries. So we have 1 that looks like 2, and we have a third. So we happen to have 3. After those, we have this branch that is very superficial. It is your saphenous artery. This is not main channel. Do not get confused. Your main channel dives deep. So you have your saphenous. The other branch is your middle caudal femoral artery, and we happen to have 2. Continue down, still your femoral. So you continue down the femoral, and you move all of this out of the way. And so this branch is the last branch of your femoral, and it is your distal caudal femoral artery. And as soon as the distal caudal femoral artery comes off, This now becomes your popliteal. So that is now main channel popliteal. So off of the popliteal, which you cannot see in a dog, the caudal tibial artery will come off. You can see this in a cat. But once the caudal tibial artery comes off, main channel becomes cranial tibial artery, which if you move to the lateral side and lift up your muscles, you can see your cranial tibial artery right here. So that continues all the way down. And then we have our dorsal pedal artery, which continues until it goes between the metatarsals. Once it's between the metatarsals, it is our proximal perforating branch 2 artery. And it is that only while it's between these metatarsals. As soon as it pops out, we have our deep plantar arch, which is this right here. And then from the deep plantar arch, we have our plantar metatarsal arteries. And then after that, we will have our plantar proper digital arteries. And those are the arteries of the femoral area.
These are the muscles of the hypaxial area. So this one here is the scalenus muscle, and then right next to it is the longus capitis. If we pull that back, we can see the longus colli muscle. Right over here on the neck is the sternocephalicus muscle. Right next to it is the sternohyoidus muscle. And then if we pull these to the side, and let's just adjust the dog, we have our sternothyroidus. And these cover the thyroid glands, which one is right up here. It's a little hard to see, but it's higher up on the neck, right here. So we will move on to our apaxial muscles. Epaxial muscles. So these are the epaxial muscles on the back. So starting here, we have our serratus dorsalis muscle, and this visible portion is our serratus dorsalis cranialis muscle. This big muscle right over here is our splenius muscle, and if we pull that back, we'll expose a few systems. So the very first one with all of these shiny tendons is the iliocostalis system. Then if we move along right over here, the next one, which is right here, is our longissimus system, and our last system is right here, and this is our transversospinalis system. The most cranial portion of this system is the semispinalis capitis muscles, and if we pull these apart, we will expose the nuchal ligament, which is very important for most animals to be able to hold up their head, except for cats. Good job.